Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're going to make a burlap and fabric bunny door hanging. Now you may remember a while back I did a door hanging and it was a Christmas tree. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was a Christmas tree. Well, I want a bunny for my front door. It's time to put something spring out, and I'm just going to use some scraps that I have. But what'll be different about this one is I've been able to make you a pattern because I wanted you to be able to duplicate this at home. And so here's how this works. There'll be a link to a blog post below, and my blog post will have the PDFs for you. There's 4 different PDFs. You get an inner and an outer. This is the head and the tummy. I'm going to show you how to use all of this, okay? You also get the outer and the outer head and tummy, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Now these are free. I'm just putting these on my blog for you guys so you can make these. Here's the tip. When you are printing these, make sure your printer is set to scale 100%. If not, here's what will happen. Let me move some of these out of the way. If you don't have it printing 100%, and if your printer is set to scale to fit, what that means is one of them may print the right size and this one may scale down to fit on the page. So you don't want to do that. You want them both to print at 100% to get you the full size. Now if for some reason they do that, don't panic. It's not going to be much off, and all you'll have to do is just kind of line these two up and adjust this edge. It won't be a big deal. It'll be a little bit smaller than mine, but not by a whole lot. But just remember, you want to print them at scale 100%. Don't tell it to scale to fit, because then it'll shrink it down. Okay? So there is how you print those. Now the first thing we're going to do is cut these guys out. You ever just have some scissors close but you just don't want to use them? That's what I had. So I'm going to cut these guys out real quick and we'll get right back together. By the way, it's super easy to cut these out. It's just on the outer edges. That's it. You're not doing anything fancy. I told y'all before I like to use clean, easy lines to make this simple. Now just so you know, you can't cut the outer and the inner together. They are different sizes. The outer is slightly larger than the inner section, and I'll show you why as we get going. So you got to cut these separate. You can't line them up and try to cut them together. So as you can see, I've got my 2 inner pieces and my 2 outer pieces cut out. Now let's start with the outer piece. I'm going to use burlap for the outer piece, but you certainly do not have to. You could use felt. Wouldn't that be pretty if you were going to put this on the inside of the house, not on your front door outside? You could use canvas. You could use oilcloth. Any kind of fabric that you wanted to use would be perfect. Now here's the only thing you'll need to remember. You need to cut, I'm going to flip this over this way. You need to cut these guys on the fold. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go back and put the word fold along this edge so you can remember to cut along the fold there. So you'll want to cut these along the fold, but let me show you my favorite trick. When you're working with burlap, chalk is your friend. Even if it's not white chalk, it can just be sidewalk chalk. Any old chalk you have is great for outlining patterns onto burlap, and it just dusts right away. So I'm going to stand up so I can see this dude, and I'm just going to trace it. Just going to run this chalk right around the outer edge. It's a brand new piece. I got to get it started. Now that Dollar Tree sidewalk chalk works amazing for this. I don't know why, but it is very flaky and it just really shows up well on burlap. This is a really inexpensive white schoolroom chalk. Let's see how it looks. That's pretty good. See how you can see it really good with the chalk? Then we're just going to trace this tummy right out as well. And there you go. We've got our bunny traced out on the fold. Now I do want you to know this. This is a double piece of fabric. So I'll get 1 full bunny and a second full bunny. And then I'll have 2 pieces that will make a pillow basically, because I'm going to stuff it. This piece of burlap is right at about ½ a yard, okay? So you'll need ½ a yard of burlap. I think this one is 45 inches long. It is. It's 45 inches off the bolt is how I got this one. And so you'll want to cut this on the fold, making sure you get 2 bunnies out of it. So let's cut this really quick. And I love these Tim Holtz shears for this. They cut through this burlap really well. And I love the long tips, the long scissor parts on them. You see that chalk flying? That's funny. Alright, and I turn this. This is just like if you were cutting paper, like if you're fussy cutting paper. I just turn it to make it work. And then when I've got it in place, I turn the scissors and not the fabric. And get to my next point. Turn my scissors. The cool thing about using burlap is if the edges get a little ratty, it really doesn't matter because it's burlap, and that works. Now if you don't want to go buy burlap on the bolt, if you have a feed and seed place close to you and they sell those feed bags, you can usually buy those for like $1. This would be a perfect craft for those. Dee Snow sent me one of those one time and I made a flower out of it, but this would be great for that. Okay, so I will show you what we've got now. I cut this one time, but I've got this big bunny body and I got 2 of them from that one cut to make our pillow with. I'm going to close this back down and we're going to work on the outer portion. I also have my hot glue gun heating up over here to the side, just so you know. Now this piece of fabric is 1/2 yard, but it's one piece that's 1/2 yard. In other words, this was folded at this edge and I cut this apart, so you can really get 2 from 1/2 yard on the front portions of your bunny. So now I'm going to take this 1/2 yard piece and fold it in half long ways so I can get 1 full bunny. So I want to say that one more time. This is a 1/2 yard piece of material that I cut in half at the fold. Okay, so it gives me 2 pieces this size, and now we're going to cut that inner bunny along that fold. So here's our inner bunny pieces. You can pin these in place if you want. I'm just going to trace them. Just kind of sit them down here. I'm going to use my chalk again. This works really well, and it just dusts right off. Typically, as you're putting it together, it kind of works its way off anyway. So there's the bunny head. You guys will probably see that really good. Yeah, it looks good on camera. That's good. Alright, and then the bunny body. So there's our little inner bunny body. Now I'm going to cut this with pinking shears, and the reason is I want the look of pinking shears on this. I'm not really doing it for any other reason. If you don't have pinking shears, just use regular scissors. I just want the little pinked edge. I think it'll be cute. Go like this. I probably will be mad at myself for doing it after I get through cutting this, because it's probably not going to be super easy. But I just think this little pinking edge, for some reason to me, pinked edges look very Easter. Have I told y'all I don't do perfection, so don't worry. If it's not perfect, it's homemade. So now let's look at what we've got here. We have this big old chubby bunny. Look how cute it is. Now you could use these patterns for lots of stuff. So even if you don't want to make this, these free patterns are on my blog so you can have those. Alright, check this out. So now when we lay this guy out, he looks like this, and then this guy's going to sit right on top and give us that cute burlapped edge. Now I want you to notice, I did a pretty big burlap edge with my patterns because I wanted to really be able to see it. So you'll get a pretty good edge. If it's too much for you, you can always make it and then trim it out more, but I love that a lot of burlap on there. So now we have a couple things we need to do. Number one, I want to put this bunny down first before I seal these guys together. And to do that, I'm going to take one piece off. I'm going to move it out of the way because I do not want to stick them together. And I am also going to cover my work surface with wax paper because I don't want hot glue to get on my cutting mat. These guys are really easy to make, but they have just the cutest look. So there is that. I'm going to lay you there in about that place. Move it over just a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is take my hot glue gun and go around the edges underneath and tack it down. So I have my hot glue gun here. I'm just going to lift this edge up. Now remember, we're just putting this down to one piece, to one layer of the burlap at this point. So just get that started and tap it into place. Now you're doing this one with fabric, so this won't be too bad. When you get to the point where you're doing the burlap to the burlap, your glue will probably seep through a bit, and that may be a little more difficult, but just take your time, be easy on your fingers, don't rush it. But this you can pretty much just tap into place pretty easy. So I got half of him down. Now I'm going to do this half, and I just wanted to turn him so I could get to him better. I think I'll start up here at this ear. I think that'll be a little easier. We're hot glued all the way around now. Now you can certainly stitch this. This would be no problem to stitch if you wanted to. If you know me, I'm kind of anti pull out my sewing machine. Now this does stick a little bit to my wax paper. I just use cheap wax paper, but I'm not too worried about it. It's on the back side, and I will just rip it off like so. Alright, so we got that part done. How cute already. Okay, now then I'm going to take the other burlap piece and we're going to glue them together. Can you see how easy this is? It's not a hard craft at all. If it weren't for the hot glue, kids could do this, you know, but they can help you stuff it. Now, when you get to this part, it is a little more difficult, okay? Here's why. You want to make sure that you seal your edges really good because you don't want any holes for your stuffing to come through. So you want to make sure you don't leave any gaps on your hot glue. Now, one thing you can do is you can just glue it right to the, and let me show you this. I'm going to flip this over. Ignore my wax paper pieces. Do you see how you can see the bunny through it? Now you can certainly do this in this manner where you have this facing upward, okay? And you run your fabric, or you run your hot glue where that fabric line is. You can do it that way, and then you know you're at the right spot and you'll get a nice round even bunny. Now you do have to decide where you want to put down first, because if we seal up the bottom, we've got to stuff him from the top, and sometimes that's hard to get in these ears to do that. So I'm going to start with the ears and leave a hole at the bottom. So I'm going to fold these guys back, and I'm going to run some hot glue around these ears just like so, and I'm using that fabric line as my guide because I can see it through here. I'm doing this left-handed and my hand is shaking. Ooh. So if you're right-handed, do this right-handed. Then I'm just going to sit this down. Now I have this little tool I like to use that I made. Let me find it. So I made this little tool out of some silicone, just to be able to do this kind of stuff where this, I know this glue is going to come through this burlap on my fingers. So I'm just pressing it with that. If you have like a silicone spatula, that would work. Anything that you can just pat down with. This is literally a piece of a silicone hot glue mat I cut and put on a little handle I had that was from one of those sponge brushes. So I just kind of created that myself. But like I said, if you have a silicone spatula, that will work too. Alright, now I'm going to do these two sides at the same time. So I'm going to run this down this side. Okay, then run it down this side. You want to make sure you keep a nice even bead, and you don't get into the middle, because the middle is where your stuffing is going to go. And this is where I use this little guy to tap these into place, so that way I'm not having to touch it with my hands. Those silicone spatulas from the Dollar Tree, they're perfect for stuff like this. For $1 you can get some good ones. Alright, now we're to the bottom, and I'm going to leave myself a pretty good hole to reach up in there because I can always hot glue that down later. So at least this much, if not more. So I'm just going to go here and go about halfway down to start, and then bring it down a little further afterwards. So I'm going to go back. Now then, I'm going to do a little bit more here, just to about right here and about right here. This is just that wax paper that's stuck to it. It just comes off. Just pull at it. It's not going to show anyway. I like to leave a bigger hole than a smaller hole open so my hand will fit through good. Alright, I'm going to let those cool for just a second and then we will stuff it. Now I'm using some of this stuffing just because I have it. I have it on hand. It's actually this side to show you. Premium polyester fiber fill, and you can use whatever you've got on hand. And I'll tell you a trick: if you're going to be putting this outside and you have a problem with insects or anything in the area you're going to put it, consider using like grocery bags, like plastic grocery bags that you get from the grocery store, because those can hold up to the weather and it doesn't matter what's inside, you're not going to see it. So think about that. That might be something good for you to try. Alright, so I have my fiber fill, and I'm just going to put enough in my hand to go up here and get this ear stuffed. Get my hand up in there and stuff away. If you need to use like a dowel, you can certainly do that. Just use a little dowel and get up in there. That seemed to do okay. And I'm stuffing it from the back side just because I can see my hot glue lines better back here. Now I feel like I've got him stuffed really well, so I'm going to go ahead and glue him down. And all I'm going to do is pull this back and put the glue right there on that fabric line, starting right where I left off. And I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing in one pass so that I don't have to pull or tug on it to lift it up. Then I'm just going to shut this down into place and line it up. Get my tool out again, because I want to make sure I get a good press, and I'll press harder with this than I will my fingers. Then just let that cool in place. Don't pull it too soon. Let it cool, and then you can deal with it once it's nice and cool. Now I'm going to use my big old crocodile because I'm going to put some holes up here in the ear area. But because you have the burlap, you could just go through the burlap. But I'm actually going to put my hole just slightly into the fabric just for some extra support. So I'm just going to slide that through. First you want to see where your hole punch comes out. And just slide that into where you want your hole. And that looks good. So I have one hole there, and then I'm going to put one over here. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's no big deal if they're not exactly in the right place or the same place. Okay, so now I have two holes in the top, and I want to show you this wire. I picked up this wire at Hobby Lobby, and it's very easy to bend and move, and I love this stuff. So I'm going to cut me some of this wire off to use to hold it in place. Just going to kind of curl it and see how much I want. I think something like that will be good. I'm going to use my wire cutters here to cut this off just like that. Now, you can decide what you want to do to the ends of your wire. It bends so easy. I just want to kind of bend it a little bit smoother than I've got it. So just play with it. Okay, now I'm going to stick it up through the holes, and I think I'm just going to take it and turn it up in two places. Poke this through this hole. So there's one. Then I'm going to poke this one through this hole. So there's the other one. And then you can literally curl this with your fingers. It is so easy to bend and maneuver. It's very malleable, so I love that about it. I'm just making little loops. Okay, and if you really want to get fancy with it, you can take your pliers and just kind of work that into place. Just going to tuck that down a little. Just tuck this one down a little. Like so. So there's my hanging wire. Now my favorite part, which I've been waiting on the whole time, I have this flower in my stash, and this is going to be the bunny's tail. I just love this big flower, and it's kind of the same color as the bunny. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to snip this little piece off so it'll lay really flat. Just use my wire cutters for it. So I've got that really flat. And now I'm just going to put some glue and put that right there for his tail. Now I put a lot of glue because I want it to kind of seep in there too and hold the flower in place. Oh, I just love that. I think that's super cute for a tail. But you could use like a puff or pom-poms, or you could make one out of yarn. You can make like a little fluffy tail out of yarn. And I think he needs a bow, maybe on his ear. Let's do that. Because he's kind of monochromatic, I'm going to run this right around here because I think that will be super cute right there. I'm going to fold. This is wired ribbon I got at Christmas time. What is this? Celebrate It Christmas ribbon from Michael's that I probably paid little or nothing for. So I'm going to run this here around his neck. So I'm going to start in that corner. Like I said, I folded it up under itself so it'll have a nice clean edge. Hold that into place. And let that get connected. And then I'm going to cut this away a little bit further than I need it so I can tuck it under too. Something like that. Bring that down. We're not quite stuck into place yet. Let me let that hold a little bit more, because I want to put a little bit of tension on it. That's the beauty of wire. That will hold in place. And I'm going to run some glue back here too, just for good keep, just safe measure, you know, to make sure it stays well. Stick that down and then stick this into place. And I got to thinking, since this is his backside, I'm not sure if I want to put a bow on the back of his ear, but let's just see what it looks like. Can't hurt anything. Let's just look. I don't like it there, but I might put one up here. Let's decide. Let me keep looking. This ribbon is actually from the bunny I did ages ago. And I think I just have to put this on here because it's from my original bunny. So I am going to put a bow up there, but I'm not going to put it on his ear. I'm going to put it up on the, coming out of the wire portion. And that is just enough. I'm going to pink ensure that edge. And put it up here at the top. Super cute. There you go, guys. He's all done. I know he's sideways, but in order to get him in the camera, that's how I got to do him. But I will take pictures of him hanging on the door so you guys can see him, and I just think he turned out precious. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and like I said, if you want that pattern, you can get it from the blog post on my blog that will have pictures of this bunny as well. And I look forward to seeing your recreations. So if you make this little bunny person, show it to me on Maymay Made It and So Did I. That is our Facebook group where we share stuff that we're making. And it doesn't have to be something I've inspired you to do. It can be anything that you're making. So head over and show us your crafts and join the group. It'll be a lot of fun. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.